When I first met her, she was beautiful. She was very passionate about some of life in general, and very social in the sense that she always had something to say. She always had a story to tell. And then towards the end, she was committed, passionate about her ideas. She had developed a lot of. I think she had grown immensely. You could say she was religious, but she was religious in the sense that from the moral point of view, she had read about them, she had thought about it, and she had developed them over a period of time. The only person here, my other family is just my cousin that I see once maybe a year. So Nahid and Nahid's family became my family. And I saw the closeness they had. I saw how they help each other and so on. I saw her intense love of her love for her children and so on. That definitely affected me.
But she was the oldest of the four siblings. She was born in Tehran, Iran.
We had a good family. As I said, we weren't so rich, but we were very comfortable. My father and my mother, they would take care of everything. We children, we would go to school, we would come back, study, we had to go to school, come back. And my father, if he has to take one by one us to school.
At college, pick her up, coming back, but he never could go inside college. So, and that was a huge college. So she used to go there to college, even though she didn't have anything to do. She was always say, "I have college to go."
For anybody on the street, it didn't matter. You were in a park, you were in a public transport.
Cinema was divided: men one side, women one side, and then no parties, no alcohol, no music. The worst part, no music. So people they gave parties, and then so suddenly when they start the music, my heart start to beat. Oh my God! What about if the revolution shows up? What about? And then when they showed up, they take everybody and like if you had alcohol, definitely 80. What do you call it? Shallow.
Lashes.
80 lashes.
They would go in their SUV cars looking for female and male being together on the street. Sometimes they wouldn't even ask you if you would say you were married. They would ask you, okay, show us your documentation, or they would take you to your house to get the documentation if you didn't have it with you. It sounds very strange, but at the time that was one of the normal things to do. Even in a bus, we were traveling. One guy came and told us, "Why are you laughing with each other? You are a man and a woman. You shouldn't be talking to each other. You shouldn't be laughing with each other." So I strongly replied back, answered him, and the guy went back and sat in his place. But that was not a pleasant thing. You couldn't even walk with your wife.
And we stayed there because we thought it would be okay. Okay, everything is gonna be okay next month. And then few years passed, and then the war with Iraq started it, and we had bombardment. And I told him, "That's it, I'm going." And this guy said, "No, we are not." And said, "Yes, we are." Right away, for him it was so easy to come. For me, it was a little more difficult, but it worth it.
She had just finished Tehran University, and she was young, and she was ambitious, and her family, well, she wanted her life at that point in time. She wanted to enjoy her life, so she was not afraid to leave her family. Currently, I'm her ex-husband. We are divorced. I was in the Army, and I got a special assignment to go, kind of like the lottery, to go to Tehran, Iran. And at that point in time, it was Vietnam that most of the people went to. and they were scared to go to Vietnam, obviously, back then. And so I was so excited that I won the lottery to go to Tehran, Iran, and my drill sergeant was so upset that, you don't deserve that assignment. When I met them in Tehran before we married, okay, we dated a while, and finally, and we're getting serious, so Nahid thought it might be a good idea to meet her dad. And so we arranged it, and we got in, got into a room, and her father walked in and said, okay, well, where is he? And he said, him. They pointed to me, and he looked at me, and all I could hear is, that pissard, in other words, that little boy. And I guess he thought I was going to be a 40 or 50-year-old man, Anyway, finally, we did marry, and it was okay from then on. But he was very reluctant at the beginning. I thought that was cute, funny, whatever. So, Khomeini's government, whatever, would not allow her to leave with an expired passport. So it took 3 months for them to give her, give her a new Iranian passport. The 3 months under Khomeini, waiting for Nahid's Iranian passport to be renewed, it was very scary for me. I might be a statistic. Somebody, one of the guards may just shoot me, because they always had their guns on the streets, walking around. Before we left, I had considered going to the American Embassy and applying for a job. And thank goodness I did not, because I think about maybe 6 months after I left, the embassy was overtaken, and all the embassy employees were hostages, were prisoners, whatever, for over a year.
First weekend,
I came to America. It took him 3 months to get out of it.
So I tried to get out of the army. They wouldn't let me get out of the army. So finally I said, give me a month vacation. I want to go see my sister. My sister is so nervous and upset because of revolution. I have to go see my sister.
Then it took me about 2 years to bring her here because of paperwork. It wasn't easy, but I was among probably one of the lucky ones. My paperwork got together very quickly, very, very fast. I was very lucky. But her paperwork took longer because of the administrative procedures I had to go through.
We went to American Embassy. We said, okay, we want to marry, we want to get a green card, we want to go to America to see.
We thought we could get married in the embassy.
Yeah, so the guy said, no, for you to get married, you have to show that you are not married before. You don't have a wife in Iran.
Yeah.
And you have to sign this. I said, I signed all those things. He said, no, you have to have all the proof that you are not married, those things. Something that will take 6 months to fix it. I said, so, then he said, for you to marry him, you have to bring something from California that you are not married, So Jesus Christ, we can't be stay here 6 months. So
then we just said, we just want a visa, then let him come to America. The guy said, no, now you have to have a letter from your employer that says that you're going to go back, and da 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 da. So I just started crying. I just was like...
she started crying, and since I was in the army, sometimes
I just cried.
I'm not that intelligent, but sometimes you can think good. And I know she's chicken. I said, whatever they ask you in Iranian embassy, you just say, what? I said, just do that. Can you do that? So I got her passport, my passport. We went to Iranian embassy. We got in. I said, I want to talk to ambassador. They said, ambassador is sleeping upstairs. And these are new, because I knew after the revolution they changed all the ambassadors in different countries. So I knew the guy knew. And every army person to get out of the country, you have to have a letter to get out of the country. And in the in the airport, you have to give it to the army people over there. But I didn't give it. I kept that letter that this captain can get out of the country for a month or something. I kept it in my pocket. So I go to the embassy. So finally, I said, no, I have to talk to the ambassador. They said, he's asleep. I said, this is Captain Kalantari. I have to talk to the ambassador. I showed that army letter that this captain can go out of the country for a month. So I said, this is my army letter. I have to go do something in America. They said, what do you have to do in America? Shah was in here.
The Shah was overthrown, and so everything changed.
So they thought I was going to do something to Shah. They told me, what do you have to do in America? I said, you know that Shah is there? They said, yeah. I said, that's all you're going to know. They said, who's the lady? She's helping me. She came to her and said, thank you, sister. Thank you, sister. And she didn't know what's going on with him. So they wrote a letter for me. I took it to the embassy. They signed.
We got our visa. It
6
took
months.
like 10 minutes.
10 minutes. And in that time, the two countries are supposed to be against each other.
They gave us the visa.
6 months. She said, what did you say? I said, don't say nothing. So I called Nahid actually. I said, Nahid,
We're coming.
you're coming and I'm going to first 1 week to the beach there. She said, shut up, leave the beach, come here as soon as possible.
He came and got me from school one day, kind of frantic, said, come on, we gotta go right now. Checked me out of school, let's go. And they pulled me out of school and he said, hurry up, come on, let's go. We got in the car, we went straight to the apartment that we lived in the city of Tehran. So we were right in the capital city, which is a beautiful city. And my parents were sitting outside with another car and we didn't even go back up into our apartment. And they said, come on, get in the car, we gotta go right now. And we all got in the car and we left. And come to find out, and then we got on a plane really quickly. You know, we saw the military planes and then we got on a plane and we headed back to the U.S. I mean, just like that. Within a matter of an hour, I was on a plane coming back to the U.S.
We got to the airport, we're ready to go, and then they kept asking me questions. And I just didn't know what to do. Or, you know, because I knew they were going to say, no, we're not going to let this American go. We're going to put him in prison. You know? And so it turned out they finally let us go. And she was all excited and happy, and it was no time. She asked me if I can go ahead and do paperwork for American citizenship for her and an American passport for her when we got back to America. So she decided Khomeini was not her ticket.
Culture of America 10 times more.
I don't know if there is anything called American culture because everybody comes from somewhere, everybody contributes something.
Very fabulous upbringing. I was very lucky. I had that laid-back, amazing American dad who was playful, and I don't know how it is fully being in a completely American family, but I had the very Americanized, chill, American, fun attitude from my dad. And I had the very uptight, strict, disciplined from my mom. And I don't know if that was just because it was my mom and my dad. It could have been. But there was a discipline that came with my mom, with everything, There was a responsibility to life and to your daily work. But I think I had the best of both worlds because I had the hard work ethic from both sides, but I also had the relax and love, and I had the power love, and I just think it was great.
My childhood was pretty unique. I ended up attending 10 different schools by the time I was in 7th grade. So we were bouncing from one school to another, going to summer schools, trying to catch up. It was a little chaotic for a kid, I was in Saudi Arabia in 1st grade. I was in France in an all-French boarding school in 3rd grade, where only a couple people in the entire school spoke English. So we had to adapt quickly. It didn't give me time to really make a lot of friends, but it gave me the ability to be able to change my viewpoint and be able to communicate quickly with new people and make friends quickly.
She came to Paris. She brought your father and his sister to Paris. They were going to the boarding school close to Paris. And so everywhere I went, she came and stayed with me, spent time with me, and she was really not a sister, but a mother to me.
My mom was afraid of everything. She was always afraid something would happen. Girls weren't supposed to be out of the house because they could get in trouble. So she kept me home, but boys are free. They can do whatever they want. Nobody can hurt them. But somebody could take away a girl's virginity. So if she was overly protective of me being the girl, and not as much because my brother was the boy.
When I was younger as well, as my sister was treated differently than I was had a lot more leniency the way that I was being raised than she was.
Yeah, but that was one of the cultural things is, I wasn't allowed to go anywhere. Couldn't spend the night out. I don't think I ever spent the night out my whole high school year, ever once. I didn't. Couldn't date. Couldn't have a boyfriend. Couldn't go over to people's houses. It was just weird. But anybody that wanted could come to my place. And anybody that wanted could spend the night. Boys, girls, she'd separate us. She didn't care what we did. As long as I was in my home, she felt like I was safe.
We don't believe in divorce, those things, and especially when you have children and those things. So we didn't let mom get involved.
After the third grade, my parents got divorced. And they did it in a really unique way. They didn't want my sister and I to feel the pain of the divorce. So they somewhat shielded us from it.
Even though they were having problems, they found a way to separate with love. And I remember the last year we had spent a year away from my dad, Bob. I was 9, or I was 8 going on 9. And then we went ahead and just went to Saudi Arabia to spend a year there. I found out after the fact, they were already basically separating because they were fighting a lot when we were in Saudi Arabia. But they were already separating, but my mom wanted us to spend a year with our dad. It was the best year, one of the best years of our life because we had that home again all together because we had missed him for an entire year.
I know in third grade I wasn't even made aware that they were divorced in any capacity.
Now, Frayden had been a part of my parents' lives for years. I remember when I was 3 years old and here I was serving tea to Frayden. Frayden was a part of our home from the time we were kids.
And I knew who Frayden was. He was a friend of the family beforehand. We were on the flight home, and my mother explained to us that we were going to have a stepfather, and that she had already been divorced, spent a while apart, and then remarried.
So my dad called him and said, do you love her? And he said, I love both of you. You're my best friends. I can't see you guys apart, because if you're apart, I lose my 2 best friends. And he goes, well, if you can find it in your heart that you love her, you can keep my family together. So he asked Frayden to see if he loved her. Frayden loved her, but it wasn't that way. It was out of best friend. They were best friends. And it was hard for him to come over. It was hard for him because he wasn't ready to get married, but he knew he didn't want to lose her either.
He was friends of ours, and so he already knew her.
That was it. So we got off the plane and we went straight to his house, and it was weird. And then it was fine because we all knew Frayden. We all stayed in his house.
She made it feel so positive and comfortable, as if it's not a big deal. We're not losing our father. We're still going to be with him as well, and he's going to be moving back to the United States. He was living in Riyadh at the time, and so just kind of made it a very comfortable, as if this is a normal thing, even though it was extremely abnormal. And I have to respect her for that, because that's something that her and my dad did to make it as easy of a divorce for the children as you could possibly make.
The kids happened to be involved or with us at the time, and I did not like that part. Okay, I did not want to get them involved. And the final straw was when Sherwin, he was, we were kind of arguing at home, and he had tears in his eyes, and he didn't know which parent to go to. And he was young at the time, grammar school kid, and he didn't know which parent to go to. And that just blew me away, and I decided, it's over. I'm not gonna I'm not going to allow this to happen anymore. It was our time. Unfortunately, it was our time.
You know, family means different things to different people, but it was fascinating how my perception of family was completely different than others based on the way that I was raised.
She valued her family and God, and she always would tell everybody and they help them to be better and want them to try to get better at stuff they like to do.
She cared about her family and God, and she wanted to help lots of people.
Family, kind of blood. Family is blood. I mean, here, like this. That's as it should be. And I see here sometimes people, the guy was telling me he hasn't seen his brother in 5 years, and to me that's not believable. I mean, how that could be? I mean, I don't care how much you dislike your brother or sister. How can you not see a family member that you were born, you lived, and we lived together most of our lives, day and night.
We were always raised that family sticks together no matter what. That doesn't mean that we don't fight. We've had our fair share of arguments and complications, but that love, that undeniable willingness to do anything for our family came from her.
Always had that lust for family, had wanting to have everybody together, and just everybody grow together, just everybody smile together, and especially to have her kids to be part of the family. Because, you know, when you grow up, you know, out of your country, you know, when you become Americanized a little bit, you know, you kind of, you know, change your life a little bit, change your lifestyle. But she wanted that, I guess, more of a Persian style lifestyle, that to bring her kids into her life.
I think, you know, family was clearly important to her. And we had lots of gatherings. I mean, Nahid had a big family. So it was common that we would get together as a big group, and those were probably some of the most fun and memorable times that I had.
The funnest things that I remember, we used to always have a volleyball game every weekend that we all gathered together, brought food, and you know, just family after family. Family was the biggest thing in life for her, and that's one of the things that when everybody starts scattering apart a little bit, I think that kind of, you know, made her heart feel a little bit empty, and that's one of the biggest things that she just missed in life.
Well, there were times we used to have discussions about religion. I was very much anti-religion, and actually at one point in time I told her, don't tell anybody I'm Muslim, and she said, what should I tell them you are? I said, tell them you are what you are. I am what I am, that's it.
Turned my life inside out. I had very good life and suddenly turned to bad, and that was, I couldn't stand anything about Islam when I came here.
So my mom wasn't always religious. She grew up as a Muslim, but just in name. She didn't really practice anything. And so when we were raised, you know, my father was a Christian, my mother was a Muslim, but neither of them really practicing. So we never went to church, we never went to mosque. She didn't pray 5 times a day. My stepfather, Freydun, when I first was introduced to him as my stepfather, he was actually an atheist. And so that kind of thought process was the way that I was raised until I was about in 7th grade. And that's when my mom was really introduced to religion.
What happened is I was going to church with my grandmother. My grandmother was American. It was Bob's mom. I went to church a lot. She never thought anything of it, but then I went to a Christian school, and then after the Christian school, I started getting involved with a youth group, and then in college I was involved with a youth group, and I think at one point it led to me getting baptized, and then she had this panic. I said, well, why would I believe in your religion when you don't even practice your religion and you don't even know what it says? Because people claim that your religion says women can't pray when they're having their menstrual cycle. Women are inferior. Women are this. Women can't do. The rights just seem so awkward. Multiple marriages, and having multiple. A man can have multiple women. All of it was awkward. I didn't like it. You couldn't even pray if you had nail polish on. It was so awkward to me. The ideology. And she said, well, she couldn't even understand it herself. So she read the book. And after she read the Quran, that was the changing point in our lives. I was in high school. She read it with Freydun, and then I read it. We had an English version. And then that's when we realized that the Quran was repeating the Old Testament and the New Testament. It was just repeating all of the previous scriptures. There was some small little bitty pieces here and there about, Muhammad just brought this to the area, but it was so different from what we had heard before.
She learned that by talking, they can open up the doors and understand what really Islam was about, not just some old-fashioned religion that, we see different faces of it all the time.
And the big point that came out is what people practice and what the book says is completely different. The book, for example, clearly says there's only 1 or 2 items you can't really eat. There's actually 4 items, and whereas what people practice is a whole bunch of them. As far as covering your hair, there is no such a thing, and there is no such a kind of a dress code that people were practicing in Iran. The idea is to be modest. They're completely 2 different things. So people are practicing tradition, and they called it religion, whereas in her case it was the moral code was more important than the rituals.
Modern way, and not just worshipping some laws that were done years ago, but to understand the logic behind it and live a life that you believe God, and through Islam perhaps, or through other religion, and just have unity of God. That's what's important. She wanted to preach God. There's a God, and not different ways that everybody is different.
Practice did not mean praying X number of times during the day. Practice didn't mean religious rituals. To her, religion became a moral foundation of value. Are you helping people? To her, basically, her practice became, how do you impact other people's lives? And she always said, have you helped somebody this week? Every week we used to have these regular weekly gatherings. By virtue of our position in the society, in the Iranian society, and so on, people would call and say, "Can you help this guy?" And she would actually ask people, "Would you like to help this person in some shape or form?" For example, maybe somebody needed a car. Hey, we need to collect some money and go buy a car. And somebody knew a car salesperson and go to him and say, "Hey, we need a car about $3,000-4,000. Can you help us?" So that was her practice.
And I went to her classes a few times, and a couple of times of it I just wanted to be there, but then some of it I really enjoyed being there toward the end, and I listened and I said, this is not bad.
Her teaching was probably her best gift. She had a way to put things and remind you of things that was very genuine.
She used Islam as her path, but she believed in all the religions. She believed in Christianity, she believed in Judaism. She just chose to utilize Islam as the main capacity for her to go forward. And it was amazing because I started seeing a shift at that point of that undeniable love and attention that she gave to her family. At that point, she started doing that same amount of attention towards strangers.
She got involved in the food bank. She started finding out people that needed help. You give people money, but she said, you have to find a way to help people get back on their feet. If you just give them money, well, every month they're going to need money. So how can you change their lives so that they can start taking care of themselves?
And the good thing about Nahid was she would come to help you without you asking, before you ask.
And then I love about her that when she did something for you, she would say, like, I didn't do it for you, I did it for God. So you did never felt that you owe her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She never kept the tab, like, oh, I did this
You
for
have
you.
to pay back.
You have to pay back. Or the moment she would do it for you, she would say, I did it for God, I didn't do it for you. So that was little I loved about her. She never, I never remember that she said to somebody, I did this for you, I did that for you.
She always wanted to help the other, and not only she wanted to help the other, she was actually pushing us to help other people as well.
She was the sweetest girl. Now that she's gone, I understand much more about her. The thing that she did for me. One of the things I went through, amazing job checking this code. She saw it and I'm checking the code. When I got home, the code was expensive. I think it was like $400-500. Those camel, whatever. I came in outside, something. She brought the code for me. So she saw that thing. She was very sweet.
My mom was not sick in any capacity. She was fine. On a Sunday, she complained about her head hurting, and she was walking into walls. My stepfather took her to the hospital, and they quickly realized that she had a brain aneurysm. They rushed her immediately to Grady because Grady has a really good brain aneurysm department, and they put her in critical condition, and they said they had to have emergency surgery. So they had emergency surgery, and she was out of it for the next couple days, but she was going in and out. She could see us and then go back out. And so Tuesday night, I stayed with her that night by myself, and I'll never forget this. When I was going through some hard times, she read the Quran to me, and I kept telling her, I don't want to read the Quran. She said, no, just let me show you these few passages. And she read them to me, because I was so stubborn, I didn't want to read them myself. And I think they were great passages. And so when she was at her deathbed, I did the same thing on that Tuesday night. And I read her the Quran for hours and hours, until I couldn't keep my head up anymore. And then the next morning when my stepfather, Freydun, came in to relieve me, I had to go to sleep. I was so tired. I came back to my house, and it seems like I was asleep for an hour, and he called me and told me that she had passed.
I like it when we go to Stone Mountain and we spread the ashes we have, and I always use the same ashes every year because it makes me feel good.
Turn me into dust and set me free in the wind. And just know that I'm everywhere, so you can be free to live your life and be happy with your family.
The laughter is one of a kind. I mean, it's like I still, a lot of times it rings in my ears the way she laughed. I mean, the giggles she had. She was the last person that I thought would leave this earth, because she had so much love for it, and so much giving, and so much happiness. Although it might not have been deep inside, but she just had that, drive, and she had that feeling of alive. When she passed away, something passed away with me, my brother, and our family. And I used to care so much about so many things in life, and my care kind of went down after seeing her gone. It just, nothing was the same anymore.
Yeah, and I have so many. Three is not enough. Yeah. Yeah, tomorrow is Father's Day, so. Yeah, when I was in Iran, of course we were Muslim, but born Muslim, but I had no idea, even though I studied Arabic and literature. But when I came to America, I always knew there is a creator, but I didn't have any religion because I didn't believe God would go to corner of the world, Iran or Turkey or France. I wanted a God that you can find him all around the world, for Christian, for American, for Iranian. One day I was looking at a magazine and I saw this verse, if you are Jew, if you are Christian, if you are Sabain, and whoever believe in God and the day of judgment and righteous, they would not be sad or nothing would happen to them. They are submitter, obviously. I really was looking for something like this. It really shocked me because I wanted this religion. I wanted a book that talk about the whole world, a God that is for Jews and Christians and whoever believe in God. So I started reading Quran, and obviously I found out everything they taught me and everything I knew about Islam in Iran was wrong. And it was exactly different book. You cannot find in Quran cover yourself the way they teach us in Iran or Saudi Arabia. Matter of fact, in Quran never talk about hair. One place, the beard of Zakaria. So these countries, they are following their tradition. Before it didn't bother me because I thought, okay, that's their tradition. I told you, it used to not to bother me. But right now, because what I see, what they are doing to Muslims forgot who is their enemy. They are killing each other. They are killing each other by the name of Shia and Sunni. When I read Quran, and it really, really changed my life. So we thought just reading Quran and understanding Quran and doing nothing, really it was nothing. So we started having a charity organization. We started countries. We even helped Jews or Baha'is or whoever needed help. It didn't matter which country they are from. I think everybody should read Quran. If everybody in those countries, every Muslim country, they read Quran and go by Quran, the whole world would change. If they understand what is God alone, don't have another person next to God, God alone. And I love that. And I don't need anything else to prove to me that there is God. I know there is God.
Thank you.
گل سنگم گل سنگم چی بگم از دل تنگم مثل آفتاب اگه بر من نتابی سردم و بیرنگم گل سنگم چی بگم از دل تنگم مثل آفتاب اگه بر من نتابی سردم و بیرنگم همه آهم همه دلم مثل بارون اگه نباری خبر از حال من نداری بی تو پرپر میشم به روزه دل سنگت برام میسوزه گل سنگت گل سنگت چی بگم از دل تنگم گل سنگم گل سنگم چی بگم از دل تنگم مثل آفتاب اگه برم یه تابی سردم و بیرنگم همه آهم همه دردم مثل توفان پر گردم همه آهم همه دردم مثل توفان پر گردم با دل هستم که تو صحرا میپیچم